When we choose a typeface, what are we really saying? Why do we need so many? There are more than 100,000 fonts in the world, but why can't we keep to a half dozen or so? Perhaps familiar faces like Times New Roman, Helvetica, Calibri, Gill Sans or Palatino. Or the classic Garamond, named after the type designer Claude Garamond.
Now this font, designed by Oswald Bruce Cooper, is warm, homely, reliable and reassuring. It's also one of my favourites.
You may also have noticed it on EasyJet aeroplanes. Typeface is now 562 years old. So when a man called Matthew Carter constructed Verdana and Georgia on his computer in the 1990s, what could he possibly be doing to an A and a B that had never been done before? Even if you don't know what it's called, you will be familiar with Comic. It looks as if it was written neatly by an 11-year-old. It's become very popular. Try and avoid it. Perfectly suited in a comic, it might look odd in a Bible. And another thing, it doesn't work on tombstones either. When designing a Do Not Enter sign, the use of a heavy-stroked, attention-commanding font such as Impact or Arial Black is appropriate. Typesetting such a message in comic would be ludicrous, a bit like showing up for a black tie event in a clown costume. Have a look at this sign on a gate outside a primary school. It's quite obvious that comic was chosen by the assistant headmistress or the young art teacher who became bored during her typography lessons at university. The sign says, "No skateboarding or roller skating." It should say, "No skateboarding or roller skating." Oh, and another thing, madam. Skateboarding is one word, not two words. I never argue with the Oxford Dictionary. Devised by Eric Gill, this font appeared in 1928. He also designed Perpetua and Joanna. The England football team has appeared with Gill Sans between their shoulders. Perhaps they should give Comic a run. At the end of August 2009, an unusual thing happened in the world. IKEA changed its typeface from the elegant Futura in favour of the modern Verdana, and people didn't like it. The New York Times joked that it was the biggest controversy to ever come out of Sweden. But why should we care if the label describing the Billy bookcase is Futura, Verdana or Banana, so long as the price is right? Much of what we need to know about the history and beauty of a font may be found in its ampersand. Although long treated as a single character, the ampersand is actually two letters combined, the E and the T of the Latin et, the word meaning and. The finest ampersand, cut by William Caslen, is still alive after almost 300 years. It has many impersonators, but no equals. John Baskerville from Birmingham is one of the great names in type history. It has one characteristic that makes it instantly recognisable and stunning, the uppercase Q. This has a tail extending well beyond its body width. A great flourish seldom seen beyond calligraphy. The lowercase g is also a classic with its curled ear and its lower bowl left unclosed. Although this font was designed in the 18th century, when Apple iPad was launched in April 2010, Baskerville was one of the 5 typefaces available on its iBooks reading device. This black letter type, first used by Gutenberg, is today largely confined to newspaper mastheads such as the New York Times and the Daily Telegraph, and also heavy metal bands. Try writing Motorhead or death metal in jaunty Lucida Bright and see how many t-shirts you sell. And then there are tattoos. Nothing says menace quite like a word written in Old English. It's hard to avoid if you visit Stratford-upon-Avon, or any ye olde pub, or ye olde tea shoppy. If you've ever been to London, then you should know about Edward Johnston, who devised a typeface for the London Underground. He began working on this design in 1915. The most beautiful letter was the I, on which Johnston placed a diamond-shaped dot that still brings a smile today. Times New Roman was designed in the early 1930s by Stanley Morrison to update the Times newspaper. He was a brilliant typographer whose influence on modern publishing was immense. Hermann Zapp will always be remembered for his dingbats, but this German designer is also responsible for some of the 20th century's most exacting typefaces. Among them, Palatino, Sapphire and Zapfino. This is one of the most fluid and effective calligraphic fonts. Hermann Zapp devised Palatino in 1949. It's interesting. It has a capital P that wouldn't join up, and an E that had a bit chipped off the right of its bowl. Sometimes you just need a type that says pleasure, possibly in French. A font for a luxury watch, or maybe a restaurant. The name you need is Verdome, a font designed in 1952. One thing is certain, Verdome is as French as a baguette, proud and dismissive. This font looks as if it had been hurriedly cut out of black paper, with no attempt to clean it up. Finally, you may ask, why so many different typefaces? They all serve the same purpose, but they express our diversity. It's the same diversity we find in wine. I once saw a list of Medoc wines featuring 60 different Medocs, all of the same year. All of them were wines, but each was different from the others. It's the nuances that are important. The same is true of typefaces, but wine for me is more important. So I'm off to try a glass, and mine's a large one.